Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Why Wasn't It Better? I'm your host, Patrick Darms.
And I'm your co-host, Anton Paras.
And joining us today is a very special guest, a return guest who has been on many an episode at this point, and we're trying to get him on this before he goes on some sort of a hiatus. Garret Ohringer, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Yes, dear listeners, I'm having a baby in literally 2 weeks' time.
Oh my
gosh. So when will this episode be released? Like, will my daughter be in college at this point?
Yeah,
If your daughter is in college by the time this comes out around Christmas, I'll be impressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how fast you edit. I don't want to judge. So under promise, over deliver.
Oh, we're all girl dads, by the way.
Hey,
True.
girl dad gang.
Yeah. Are the chances or the probability is increased for one of our kids to be in pro sports?
Yes, technically.
I'm
Like,
taller than all of you, so I'm betting on myself.
Are you?
I'm 6'4".
Are you?
I'm
Are you?
Well, first off, listeners, I'm 6'5", so I don't know what anyone else here.
I guess I'm the shortest at a legitimate 6'3".
Yeah, I'm 6'5" with
What are you
socks
gonna
on. My bad.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's true. Anton used to actually just sit on my shoulders, and that's how he got to 6'5". He's
How
actually
do
that short.
presentations?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very special episode because this is an episode that has been driven by popular demand. Anton, this is our second ranking episode. We did one, what was that, in this last spring for the Roger Moore James Bond movies?
That was a great time to reminisce and go through those Roger Moore films. And now we have another ranking episode. What are we ranking today, Pat?
Something very special because, so just to back up really quick, we kind of did the Roger Moore ranking one sort of as an experiment. You and I, we had discussed doing ranking episodes for a while, but we weren't sure if they were even worth doing, if our audience would support them. So we kind of released it as like on a weekend, randomly as like a one-off. It did really well, and I put out a poll if our listeners, asking them, do they want to see more of these ranking episodes? The answer was overwhelmingly yes. So this one is a long time coming, but today
We're going
we are
through
going Phase One of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Anton, I think the Marvel thing was a natural progression for us because, you know, we've covered over a dozen of the Marvel films at this point, and we've gotten through Phase One. We didn't cover every film in Phase One. Technically, we haven't done the first Iron Man. It's probably a film we may cover it at some point as a bonus, but in my opinion, it doesn't really qualify for Why Wasn't It Better. If anything, it's the opposite. The first Iron Man is like, why wasn't it worse? We'll talk a little bit about it today when we inevitably rank the films in Phase One, but I kind of just picked this one out of a hat. I just thought it was a very natural progression for us to just get to some of the Marvel stuff. And of course, we would need a guest, and I couldn't think of any better guest to do this than Garret.
Garret,
Honestly,
you got the assignment.
Honestly, I'm flattered. Yeah, white shirt, exactly. I don't know what that means. Maybe we have the same rankings. But no, honestly, I'm flattered you asked me. I spent way too much time in the movie theaters, on DVDs, on Blu-rays, watching Phase One of Marvel. That was all between, senior year of high school and senior year of college. So I was really in the sweet spot for all of these movies, just like you guys were as well. And I can confidently say I think I saw the majority of this. I don't want to spoil what we'll talk about in the episode, but I saw the majority of these multiple times in theaters too.
Oh.
But maybe you can guess which ones I didn't.
I have an educated guess I could give you when we get to it. Okay, so Anton, anything you want to say before we sort of kick this off?
Well, over the seasons when we've covered Marvel films, we've covered what? You said like 12? Like, that's a lot of films.
About that, yeah.
I feel like they just kept releasing more and more. It felt like Hydra. We cover one and then they release 3 in a year. But things have slowed down with Marvel for a bit. But they are ramping towards one big film. So that's kind of the interesting
They're definitely in a
segue.
bit of a swoon right now.
We have Doomsday coming, which could be something talking about. So
I'm sure we'll have to cover it at some point.
You guys were quick with the Thunderbolts episode. I will say that.
We didn't cover Thunderbolts.
Did you not? Did I make that up?
You
we
did.
talked. I mean, we talked about
You
Thunderbolts.
talked about it.
Yeah, but I don't
did?
think we covered it. I think we were on an episode we talked about the Thunderbolts film.
Time is a flat
Who did you
circle.
talk about it with? Because it wasn't me. I didn't see it.
I saw it, so maybe we talked about it.
Cut this out. I'm misremembering.
No, I want to keep this in because
We did
this
talk
is
about
fun.
it. We did talk
I have
about
not
it.
seen that movie.
If you want to talk about why wasn't it better, Brave New World, buddy, I can give you a 5-hour dissertation on that right now, unprompted.
All right, Garrett, that's a little bit of a gimme. Why that one couldn't be why that one wasn't better.
Well, that's the name of your podcast.
That's fair. But no, this episode ranking, I'm super stoked. Why don't we go ahead and jump in?
We can do that. All right. So here's the format of it. We're going to let our guest go first, and we're going to start from worst to best. We're not going to discuss a film until all three of us name it. So, Garrett, you're going to give your least favorite, then me or Anton will go, then the next person goes, and then we'll keep going until all three of us mention the same film, and then we'll discuss. How does that sound?
Okay, so we're just starting with one at a time, starting from worst.
Yes.
Okay.
And, I think as we do more of the phases in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this will get, I think, infinitely more complex. I think this is going to be relatively straightforward because there's only 6 of these films.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize this when I was initially doing my list for this, but like phase 3, there's like what, 10?
Too many. Phase 4? Are we still in phase 4? Are we in phase 6?
I don't know where
phase
we are.
6, I think.
We're in phase 6.
See, this is how far I've fallen off from basically literally letting all of this consume basically the whole pie chart that is my brain's usage to now being like, where am I? Who am I? Who are you?
Without further ado, Garrett, why don't you kick this off for us? What is your 6th and least favorite film in phase 1?
This might shock both of you, but it is without a doubt Iron Man 2.
Okay.
That does shock me, and it's wrong, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
We're off to a really hot
Great,
start.
Pat.
Listeners, Patrick Darms doesn't respect other people's opinions and perspectives. He's closed-minded.
Some opinions, you say this all the time, some opinions can be wrong.
This is great. Right. We're starting off on a hot
great
note.
stance.
This
great
is what
stance.
we want. This is what we want. Let's start it off hot.
I can go next. The Incredible Hulk is my least favorite.
The Incredible Hulk is my 6th ranked film as well. All right, so no discussion.
We'll talk
so
about
we're going to move on to number 5.
Which
Garrett.
for me is The Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
Sounds
like we can talk about The Incredible Hulk now.
Pat's look of okay, with just a little bit of side-eye there. I felt that in my soul.
No, it's good. You know what? I'm taking the other side of this, Garrett. I love your ranking of this because it puts us into a very fun area of discussion where Pat seems to have a bit of a scorch the earth hatred for the Incredible Hulk, which I also do. I am curious to hear. Tell us a bit from your perspective about Incredible Hulk and why it lands at 5 and not at 6.
Yeah, no, it's really a good question. And let me be clear to the listeners. It is only marginally slightly better than Iron Man 2 in my eyes. They're both unequivocal 5 and 6. So I want to make that very clear. But it's kind of like, the last 2 people just fighting for second to last place is kind of my opinion of both of these movies. But when I go back to The Incredible Hulk, and Pat, you and I were talking about this before we started recording too. The Incredible Hulk to me is the perfect epitome of a Sunday TNT movie when I'm hungover at 2 p.m. Like, it is a movie where I feel like I can jump in, I know what's going on, and I'm not lost. Personally speaking, one of the things that I think this movie actually does really well, and I believe this movie is where Marvel initially learned to trust the audience more, is how they breeze through the exposition in the opening credits. We know how Bruce Banner gets infected with the gamma radiation. We see the snippets of Jennifer Connelly, William Hurt, all throughout the movie. I also said Jennifer Connelly. I meant Liv Tyler
she's not in this film.
Also, listeners, if you haven't listened to Ang Lee's Hulk episode that we recorded, I really like that movie a lot. So clearly I am biased towards who I am wishing was in this movie besides Liv Tyler. Anyhow, but what I appreciate about this movie is that it treats the audience with a little bit of respect. Just like in Spider-Man, we don't need to see how Uncle Ben dies. At this point, we had just gotten a Hulk movie 5 years before that. So we are kind of picking up almost like in media res, like with the adventures of Hulk. I really kind of enjoy how fast-paced it is. Narratively, definitely could use a lot more structure over there too. It really kind of suffers from what I like to call mid-2000s camera work. Like Louis Leterrier's lenses are always just so sweaty and oversaturated. It almost looks like he used the exact same setups and cameras that he did from Transporter 1 and 2. And while that works with fast-paced Jason Statham cinema, maybe not within the Marvel template over there too. And the real big negative, and I'm sure you guys will allude to this as well, that this movie just feels so much in a silo. yes, it was co-produced, co-developed at the same time as Iron Man before really a lot of these plans were fleshed out. So it truly does feel so disconnected from the MCU. Even the end scene literally makes no sense in the context of the cinematic universe once the Avengers happen. So it's clear to see there was a lot of growing pains and a lot of things that weren't figured out that eventually had to be retconned in movies such as Brave New World, which in my opinion has no business being an Incredible Hulk sequel. But all those digressions aside and those negatives, the things that I do really like is one, I think the Hulk looks awesome in this movie and is terrifying. And the action, I think, is some of the better done action in the early days of Marvel. The whole university showdown against Blonsky, to me, is great action filmmaking too. And personally, I love Blonsky as a great secondary villain and love when he pops up in any Marvel related content these days. But the one scene that I love and just lives rent free in my mind is when Blonsky, after he takes the serum in the university fight, gets his ass handed to him by the Hulk, and then he basically just gets up, just postures to Hulk, arms out, peacocking, which to me is just so cold-blooded, and he just gets yeeted into the tree and wrapped around it. I truly think that is one of the more visceral action moments in the MCU, and I really do think they go for it with a long, brutal fight in Harlem too. So like I said, narratively, not the greatest, connecting to the universe, not the greatest, but in terms of being a hangover watch at 2 p.m. on TNT, I'll take it any day of the week. Well, I guess only on Sunday, technically.
Oh, well said, Garrett. Well said. Well, Pat, why didn't you like this steaming pile of crap?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I think starting with Edward Norton, I think he was miscast. He's a great actor by himself. I don't want to, this is not to throw shade at Edward Norton. He had a lot to do with this film's issues, though. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that you can read about in terms of he tried to contribute to the script enough that he wanted to get credit for it. There's more details on that. You can check out our full-length episode on this that we covered a while back. It's not that I don't buy him as a scientist, which I don't, but I think the biggest problem with this movie is probably what all three of us would agree on. And Garrett, you were already getting into it. This just does not fit in with the rest of the MCU at all. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Yes, they developed this concurrently with Iron Man, but if you do the research on this, this really was conceived before the MCU was a thing. This was sort of supposed to be a pseudo sequel to the 2003 Hulk, but it's not really. But even the people that made this film, including one of the producers, Gail Ann Hurd, she referred to it as a requel, which means they weren't really sure. It takes place in Brazil to start the film, where that film ends. So it's like, is it a sequel? Is it not? They couldn't make up their minds. So Edward Norton got fired from this afterwards. And I think we're all grateful for that, because it's like, can you really picture him interacting with the rest of the Avengers in the MCU? Can you really picture him hitting on Scarlett Johansson in the Avengers? No.
In a creepy way.
In a creepy way, yes, but in a way that we could take seriously, that could actually fit into the Avengers film, which came a few years after this. Definitely not. But also, Anton, nothing happens in this movie. Banner's on the run. He gets into a fight at this bottling plant. Nothing happens. He goes to the United States. He gets into a fight with the worst villain in Phase One, Emil Blonsky. Nothing happens. He gets into a fight in Harlem, and then nothing happens. He's just on the run. He's on the run before the movie starts. He's on the run after the movie starts. He doesn't cure himself of being the Hulk. He doesn't get the girl. He doesn't do anything. So that all feels like a waste of time. This whole movie to me is just a waste of time. Blonsky stinks. He has no motivation. He has no history with Bruce Banner. When they meet at the end in Harlem, when one of them's the Hulk, one of them's the Abomination, he's never met Bruce Banner. He's just met the Hulk. So he's the only villain in Phase One that has no history with the main character. So there's nothing to really root for or against for me. I didn't even see this in the theater, as far as I know, or if I did, I have no memory of it. And it is interesting, Anton, I was texting you or talking to you about this offline previously. I think Marvel dodged a little bit of a bullet. Imagine Garrett 2. If this had been the first entry in the MCU as opposed to the first Iron Man. Now, I personally think Iron Man still would have been the success that it was. This would have been the turd that it was. But I think they lucked out where Iron Man was such a resounding success, and that was the first entry. And this came a month after it, and it came so quickly after Iron Man that we could all just kind of sweep it under the rug and forget about it, because that's what this movie deserves. I don't even think of this as part of the MCU. It just does not fit in with the rest of it.
Yeah, this film is forgettable. I remember during the recording, one of the things that I really harped on was just how generic the Incredible Hulk film felt. And looking at, again, the production timeline and where everything lined up, it feels outside of the MCU. It feels more like a generic 2000s superhero film that we could easily forget about. It does have some fans that I think like the concept of the Incredible Hulk, or like the concept of that storyline and the Hulk itself. But I don't think that the execution was there to really give us a compelling Hulk that we haven't already seen in previous iterations, or even a more generic version of the Hulk that we got from the comic books. This was really, to me, just, especially after seeing Iron Man, this was just a bit of a letdown, because you don't come away with this having a newfound appreciation for the Hulk, or a different MCU take on what the Hulk is, or who Bruce Banner can be. It's just a very generic and forgettable film, one that I don't enjoy. And it just commits all of these film sins that I just also can't get over, whether it's the hero is just fighting the opposite version of the hero in the Abomination. Oh, and you touched on it too, Pat. Edward Norton just really wasn't my Bruce Banner. And when you hear about when you read about everything he was doing behind the scenes, also didn't seem to be very easy to work with either. So long-term vision and the way that the film actually fit into the entire series, just not there. And then the enjoyment factor also just not there. I can sincerely look at all the films in Phase One, and this one just gets no rewatchability from me. I just really won't go back and see it, which is really interesting that they chose this film to really have so much connection with Brave New World as like the the backdoor sequel to this film, which is, again, very confusing seeing that film.
So many other threads that movie could have chosen, and instead they decided to choose the second movie in the MCU that is widely considered the most forgettable.
It's bonkers, but there's, again, so many things wrong with that film. But hey, we're here with Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, the one thing I want to say too, you bring up a good point, and I want to ask you guys this question: if this movie came out at a different point in Phase One, would it have been made better and received better? What I mean by that is this movie does a lot of foreshadowing for things that don't technically exist in the MCU yet, but are technically like retcons. A great example is the super soldier serum hasn't been introduced in this movie yet. It is introduced in Captain America. So we don't really know what the effects are of it, enhancing your inner, abilities and self and your outward abilities and what that does to you. We don't know who developed it. We don't know why it matters. We don't get who Blonsky is, besides that he's a good soldier who just loves the fight. Same thing too. Like, they talk about all these experiments that they're doing in World War II, and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about or referring to. So what I'm trying to say is not just relitigating all these little nitpicky points, but it's almost like if this was the movie that maybe came out after Captain America, for example, or even like Thor, like this was the one leading into the Avengers, could that have made it better, or at least given them better direction to kind of feel like a proper entry into the MCU, and he being a proper, character himself? I don't know if that point came across right, but do you understand what I'm trying to say? It's like, I feel like they had a lot of nuggets, but they didn't know what to do with them here.
I think if it had Mark Ruffalo in it, I think if this had come out later and been the exact same film with Edward Norton, I still think it's the failure that it is. Because it's like I said, I can't picture him interacting in the same way with the rest of the Avengers the way Mark Ruffalo did. And look, part of that is hindsight, right? Part of that is because of how much history that I now have with Mark Ruffalo's take on the Hulk. By the way, Mark Ruffalo is the actor they wanted originally for this film. So he could have been involved at a sooner point. But the biggest thing, also, there's an off-screen piece to this, which is why I don't think it ever would have worked. Him and Edward Norton and Robert Downey Jr. don't like each other at all. So I don't think this was probably doomed from the start based on what they wanted the MCU to be.
I was going to ask, we could probably look at Ruffalo's characterization of Banner as, or at least it really is hard to see any other way to play it, right? Grounded, humble, quirky, relatable.
Believable as a scientist, too. That's a key.
Yeah, that's very key. And just, not to say that can't fit Edward Norton's tool belt of characters to act as, but I find that a lot of his roles and a lot of his bigger roles, doesn't always come off as the most humble, but I think the believability factor just isn't there for me. And
you don't think
in a Bruce Banner that
American History X was a humble character?
He was so larger than life in Cape Fear.
Cape Fear?
Not Cape Fear, Primal Fear.
Primal
Fear. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Guys,
But
way to go, Marty.
I've had half a beer, guys. I don't know.
American History X, where to make him younger, they just put a baseball cap on him. Yeah. No, they also, I think it's interesting because despite the film coming like a month after the first Iron Man, it didn't throw off the trajectory of the MCU. I think a lot of people were like, that brushed off my shoulder. I'm like, what was that? Okay, whatever. But it still had the Sam Jackson tie-in, like we're building a hot tub time machine or something.
We're building
that
a
wasn't
hot tub
tacked on at all, that scene.
Yeah, we're building a hot tub time machine. And also, can you get Abomination? Like, what was the whole point of that end scene? He goes to Ross to ask for Abomination, but hope that he annoys Ross so much he doesn't release him for the Avengers. Like, I'm sorry. 17 years on, I could, like, gun to my head, I couldn't tell you what the goal of that scene is.
Yeah, just again,
barely an MCU film, brother.
This Hulk looks like he smells. Also,
this Hulk looks just sad. Just looks very sad. Is that fair?
He's got the emo haircut. Like a real emo haircut.
I was gonna say, is it an emo haircut or he legit looks like Fred Durst?
I didn't think of Fred Durst when I saw this movie.
Limp Bizkit Incredible Hulk with like the hair,
right? Yeah. Right.
I'm really trying to picture that. See, this is what we need to use AI for. Like, Gemini, please mock up an image of Edward Norton's 2008 Hulk with Fred Durst.
If there is an air raid vehicle in this film.
Well, are we feeling good about our Incredible Hulk portion?
This is the longest I think anyone's talked about this movie in 17 years.
Yeah, I don't think we need to talk about this movie anymore.
All
so,
right.
Garrett, your fifth film you put as The Incredible Hulk. You had Iron Man 2 ranked 6th.
I did.
Anton, what do you have ranked 5th?
I actually had Iron Man 2.
I did as well.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2, Electric Boogaloo. Really a missed opportunity with that title.
Oh my gosh, Iron Man 2. Like, what's tough is it's not ranked as lowly for me as Incredible Hulk, but the fact of like where it sits in Phase One, it does end up being second to last, but I don't think it's like a terrible film.
It's almost like they learned all the wrong lessons from Iron Man 1 and what to do with the sequel. Way too overbloated, overstuffed.
But they learned they learned all the things that they did that they could have done better, but then they still tacked on new things that they were like, well, I didn't realize we could do this worse. Whether it's
that is
the fan service, the product tie-ins, the
inclusion of Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, and Bill O'Reilly, just cursed cameos all across the board.
Kind of makes sense though. Kind of makes sense though, for given who Tony Stark was.
In 2010, it definitely makes sense.
And he's just downing Dr. Pepper. Was that the right film?
Also, we do get a husband and wife duo on screen of Leslie Bibb and Sam Rockwell in this movie.
And they're one of the reasons why I can't rank this last, because they're hilarious in this film. Sam Rockwell is hilarious in this film.
Yes, he is.
The reason why I would rather watch this a million times above Incredible Hulk. And by the way, I find this movie pretty watchable. I gave this a C, even though I'm ranking it, 5 out of 6. This is some of the funniest work that Downey has ever done. He is incredible in this movie. He cracks me up the entire time. It's some of the best jokes in the MCU. There's some great dialogue in this film. The Senate scene with him and Gary Shandling is like one of my favorite scenes in any Marvel film.
The funniest scene.
Yeah. It's so great. And then all the stuff in Monaco, and it has maybe my favorite joke in the MCU, which is also involving Leslie Bibb and Sam Rockwell. If you remember, when they're at the bar in Monaco and Gwyneth Paltrow is reintroducing Tony to, what's Rockwell's character's name?
Justin Hammer.
Yeah, Justin Hammer. She's like, oh yeah, she's just like, this is blah, blah, blah from Vanity Fair. She did a spread on Mr. Stark last year. And then Tony goes, she also wrote a story. Love it. I love all that stuff. But I hear you, Garrett, and I can only imagine for the two of you as like serious comic fans, this is a big missed opportunity because they're hinting at a lot of interesting stuff that they want to do with Tony's character. Anton, we talked about this way back when we covered this film. They wanted to do Demon in a Bottle stuff. They really didn't get the opportunity to. They only teased it. I do get why. Well, there's a reason why I have this ranked fifth, just like you, Anton. I mean, this is a big missed opportunity. The villain, Ivan Vanko, he's not very interesting. He could have been, but he's not. It's kind of a bridge, right? They're dedicating too much of this film to set up Black Widow and stuff for the Avengers. And while I appreciate that stuff, I appreciate Scarlett Johansson very much in this film. But as a sequel to Iron Man, it's a disappointment.
Yeah.
My question for you is, you think Whiplash is a worse villain than, or excuse me, a better villain than Blonsky?
Not even close. He has a real history with Tony Stark. He has a real motivation. Emil Blonsky's motivation is, I want to be in a good fight because I'm
maybe let me rephrase that. Do we think that Blonsky and Hurt, Ross, are better villains or worse villains than Hammer and Whiplash? Even if we had Hurt into there.
No.
What do you think? 2-on-2?
I'll take the Iron Man 2 villains every day over them.
I mean, look, this is like watching the Hornets play the Wizards. Like, we're the losers for watching it regardless.
I mean, long term, like as a character, I loved how Blonsky evolved, especially going in the She-Hulk series. Pretty hilarious. I do really like Tim Roth. I think he's very funny.
She-Hulk. I liked it.
Don't count. Doesn't count.
Yeah. But
Hammer's funny, at least. He's hilarious.
But Hammer is hilarious. And longevity-wise, Whiplash was not going to be an Iron Man 3.
My issue with Whiplash is he is essentially just a guy with a ridiculous costume and 2 lashes. He should literally die every time he is hit by anything.
He was so over the top. It was like a pretty big film for him. This was like the return peak, right? For Mickey Rourke.
This was like... Yeah, he's at the top
this was,
right now.
It was Wrestler. It was this film, and he let the world know that this was going to be like a return to force for Mickey Rourke. But the actual character does not have quite a complete arc. If you remember, Garrett, he disappears a bit by the end of the film. You have to have a proper arc for that villain, and this film did not have a proper arc for Whiplash, and that's so disappointing.
The demon in a bottle storyline being poorly adapted. Also, the demons of your father also not really landing as a theme, which was ripe for it with, this is Tony Stark really reckoning with the legacy of himself and his father. And also Vanko to some degree. Like, they are kind of good mirror villains, just how Stain was to Tony Stark as well in the first movie.
Hey, Tony.
I want my bill.
You want a burger, Tony?
Yeah, he should have been a much more interesting villain than he was. But I'm just grateful because we get a lot of good... All the scenes that Tony has with the other characters, him and Pepper, great. Him and Rhodey, great. Him dealing sort of with his off-screen problems, great. The stuff with Sam Jackson and Scarlett Johansson, I think, is great. But like I said earlier, as a sequel to Iron Man, it's disappointing.
Did you guys notice like Rhodey looked like a little different? Like, you think he got like a haircut or something between the first 2 films? I'm not sure.
I think that what was it? Wasn't it that he ended up going into? Man, I don't have a good joke for this.
I thought it was because they got a new actor.
Okay, I thought he just took Ozempic or something like that. This joke sucks. Cut it out.
I was trying to think, like, what's a good... I think he was in an Academy Award-winning film Crash, and then ended up...
And then a Pimp
they were both in it, right?
Cheeto was in Crash?
Wasn't he?
Haven't seen it. Couldn't tell you.
No, he was. And so was Terrence Howard.
Was. Oh, you are right. Yeah. Good call.
They were both they both were in Academy Award-winning film Crash, but then one of them walked into the wrong trailer afterwards ended up being in the other Iron Man film.
Anyway, back to Iron Man 2. I don't know if you guys will agree with this. I think this is the worst final fight in the MCU. It is maybe 3 minutes long?
It's
2 minutes long?
Not much to it.
No. Don't get me wrong. Great laser beams, but that's the whole scene itself.
I do like the payoff, though, from the Widowmaker that Justin Hammer tries to sell Rhodey at one point. That's pretty funny.
I will say, this does have 2 of the most badass moments in the MCU. One in the end fight, the scene where the music just drops out and it's pure silence. You get the clangs of the helmets going down and they just start unloading on the drones is... Honestly, I think it's just such a hype moment, too. And then secondly, my opinion, this has the best suit up of any Iron Man on the Monaco racetrack. I will watch that scene, rewind it 100 times every time I watch this movie.
There's great shots in this film, too. When Vanko whips the one F1 car in half, and
Great
you
shot.
see it like it's in slow motion. It looks awesome. It really
Natty
does.
Libatique. They let him cook on this one.
It did. Jon Favreau's last contribution to the MCU. His second and final, right?
He got some EP credits on Iron Man 3 and the Avengers movies.
EP credits, some cameos, but it's
he got to kiss Aunt May.
Oh wait,
later.
no, yeah, he's still an actor in the MCU. I mean, as a filmmaker.
Yeah, we're talking behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, he
stuff.
didn't have a good time making this.
But he had a great experience, and it was awesome for his career. And hey, look, at the end of the day, he was able to make Chef and cast himself in a love triangle with Sofia Vergara and Scarlett Johansson,
and eat Cuban sandwiches all day.
Right.
The dude wrote like the best role for himself.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
I wrote down, Anton, Iron Man 2 is like the quantum of solace of the MCU. Where it's like
bad follow up.
Yeah, has its merits, but I don't know.
Yeah, as a fan of the 90s animated series, I think the big plus for me is that there was a bit more fan service. I know not all the fan service hits quite as much in Iron Man 2, but I don't know, I do really enjoy the Monaco racetrack briefcase scene.
It's entertaining. There's really entertaining stuff, which is great. Film.
Again, great TNT hangover movie at 2 p.m. on a Sunday.
I really enjoy Mickey Rourke's acting when his father dies, and he just takes a swig of the vodka bottle and goes, ah! Ah!
Someone's knocking on his cell. Shut up.
Yeah, that was actually his Oscar submission. That scene.
For your consideration.
For your consideration. If he dies, he dies. Oh, wrong film.
It's okay. I've already made like 7 mistakes.
Butchers and thieves. Sorry. What does he say at the end? Oh, you'll lose.
You'll lose. As his CGI head is just popping out like Jeff Bridges is in the first movie.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony, you like my floating CGI head?
Well, Garrett, why don't we move on to number 4 then?
4 is Thor. Would you like me to say more?
I have the same. 4 is Thor.
I also have Thor.
All right, we can talk about Thor now.
We're like resigned to the fact, like, all right, Thor time, I guess.
Look,
Kat Dennings, great character, or great actress, probably the shining star of the film.
I don't have anything to add.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Next movie.
This movie's kind of forgotten.
Darcy does have the funniest line. What does she say? It's like, for a crazy homeless guy, he's pretty cut. Like when they first meet Thor. That is.
I really, that's my Hollywood crush. It's Kat Dennings. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about Kat Dennings.
Would you like to talk about Thor, Anton?
But hey, does this feel like generic template MCU?
This feels like the first outline for every MCU movie moving forward, as in the story beats. Like
we got S.H.I.E.L.D. coming in.
We have the hero journey.
We got the crew.
Yes. Yeah, we have the plucky individuals from both the bad guys and the good guys.
Villains, Easter eggs,
I actually think it worked pretty well, though.
It does. That's what I mean. Like, if this is like the floor at that point, that's a pretty good floor moving forward.
It is, because this was also, I think, they had Kenneth Branagh directing it, which is wild to think about. Talk about a very atypical MCU director. But I think one of the reasons why this movie is cool to revisit, even though it's forgotten in some ways, is that it was the first time they had to set basically half of the movie on not Earth, which is going to be a challenge. Iron Man is, for lack of a better term, grounded. Iron Man 2 also grounded as far as they could be, right? And then you had the Incredible Hulk. It takes place on Earth. But this starts off on another planet, and it looks really cool. This is a really good-looking movie. For a debut performance from Chris Hemsworth, I think he kills it. He's awesome as Thor. There's a lot of things about this film that I really like, and you kind of said it well about like the template thing. I don't think it's anything great, but I really enjoy it when I revisit it. It's fun.
Yeah, plus we have Blue Skin Loki.
I wanted to ask you about that.
I'm glad we're talking about this.
But we never get Blue Skin Loki again?
Yeah, we don't, and your guys are the comic book experts here, so I defer to you. It's like they never bring this up again, right?
They do in the What If animated series, which does not count.
I don't count that, no.
But at least to What If's credit, the title is What If. But it is true, like Loki's frost giant heritage, and even like the who I am and where I come from, which is such a part of like Thor moving forward, of the stranger in a strange land, which is definitely a plot point of the Dark World. definitely a plot point in Ragnarok, especially a plot point in Infinity War. Loki kind of does have that mirror arc, and it's never really explored, even in his own TV series, which is where you kind of do explore these represented topics. And I did find it so interesting, too, and a great foil to Thor for him as a villain, but him as just a character in general, and how they relate as brothers. And in my personal opinion, really a missed opportunity of just kind of deepening that relationship of how they relate to each other.
It improved, though, right? Over the course of the next few films, we get Thor Ragnarok, which I feel like completely grounded their relationship as brothers, versus this film, which, as listeners may recall if they listen to that episode of Thor, this was a much more serious MCU film. Not as many jokes. There were some light jokes in it, for sure. But this was not the same level of self-awareness that was written into the jokes for Chris Hemsworth. This was very, very dry Chris Hemsworth.
Would you say this is the most like hammed up Marvel movie? Like, obviously, yes, this film is directed by Mr. Shakespeare himself and Kenneth Branagh, but it really does show in the performances. Like, everyone has it dialed up to 11. There's no greater scene than when Anthony Hopkins literally dresses down Thor.
Yeah, no, how do we put this? If they really wanted to put this into the pageantry that is Jotunheim, that is all of these Norse gods and mythology, it feels like there was a bit of an air of respect put to it. Again, not a lot of comedy, and with all of that, I think it's just the take and taste of, are you into that? And with this particular film, with its serious tone, I still think it ends up landing. It's still very enjoyable because even though there's not a ton of laughs, it does feel like something out of a comic book, more serious comic book. But it's really nice, at least in future films, you can still look at those things and poke at it a little bit.
I think it succeeded in establishing Thor as a major player in the MCU. I think that's what it was supposed to do. It did it. We can talk, you can make fun of the Dutch angles and stuff that we were kind of alluding to with how Kenneth Branagh chose to direct it, but at least it looks distinctive. A lot of the newer MCU stuff all looks the same, undistinguishable from one another. This is at least a unique looking film. I think it was also holds the distinction of being the last MCU film filmed on film, as opposed to digital. I think it is.
Speaking of interesting, like, my wife said it best. Like, Thor's hair in this film is the worst it's ever looked.
His eyebrows.
The wig that he wore literally looks piss yellow, is how she said it. So get a look at that wig, folks, when you watch Thor, and
like chlorine shocked.
It just doesn't look natural.
Imagine if Tom Hiddleston had actually gotten the role of Thor during the auditions and he had that wig and those bleached eyebrows.
Bizarre.
Would he have to be as Jack?
You can see the behind the scenes like screen test that he did. He's not like Chris Hemsworth jacked, but you're like, okay, Tom, like, good for you. Like, get in the gym, man.
Is he more like a me jacked, or?
He's like you, but like worse. Like you're like Chris Hemsworth. You're like Abomination.
More like a night manager.
You're an Abomination.
I'm taking that as the
He's
most
like,
ultimate. That is the ultimate compliment.
You got some real leader physique.
I just like how we talked about Thor for 10 minutes and made no mention of Natalie Portman.
Jane Foster. I will say, also, talking about Natalie Portman, Kenneth Branagh really helped bring a lot of quote-unquote legitimacy to the MCU of making a different toned Marvel movie. Like, let's be honest, Iron Man and MCU are standard summer action fare too. This was the first movie I was like, oh, cool, a Thor movie. I'm like, this kind of looks like a drama of sorts. Obviously seeing who was behind the camera and in front of the camera too. Also, I think personally, this is one of the biggest risks that Marvel took and really helped kind of, almost walked so Guardians of the Galaxy could run. Obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy is way different in tone and everything like that, and is definitely way more cosmic, quote unquote. But this really was that first space template to say, okay, we can figure out how to make it work within this universe.
So, right, you're saying we're getting into the mythology side of things. We're getting into the outer, like, we are starting to pull people out of reality into, hey, like, there can be some mysticism in Marvel, right?
Yeah. The magic and the science, if you want to call it.
For someone like me,
first off,
as a layman, right, who didn't know anything about this part of Marvel, it worked. I thought it worked. I thought it was great. All the stuff on the different planets when they go to like Frost Giant Land,
Jotunheim.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. what they tried to do with this, you can make the case this is a superficial movie. It's designed to introduce Thor and not much else. There's the whole thing about, what's the MacGuffin in this movie?
It's not the Tesseract.
It's not the Tesseract, right?
The not the Bifrost. It's the Casket of 1,000 Winters. Wow, how did I remember?
Yeah,
that
whatever the hell that, like, that's all
Whoa.
like superficial. You could argue that, but Hemsworth was awesome. Hiddleston was awesome. The rest of the cast I thought was awesome, including Natalie Portman, who you could have told me she zoomed in her performance. I would have believed you. But it's just a fun movie. It's really entertaining. It looks cool. I was very impressed by this movie, and then rewatching it over the years, I think it holds up really well.
Yeah,
It is another movie I love. Just any minute I kind of turn on, I'm like, I'll happily watch a scene of that. Nothing makes me laugh harder, though, when he meets Coulson for the second time and he refers to him as son of Cole, and he just constantly refers to him as that throughout the movie. It is the dumbest bit, and it makes me laugh every time I think about it.
It was at that point that they start to write Thor as a bit of a dumb jock, right?
What's the other line when he's like, he's in New Mexico after he slams the coffee cup on the ground?
Another.
Yes, which is the endlessly like quotable meme.
Great.
But when he's like, I need a horse, I have to get back and warn them. I'm like, we don't have horses here. We got like birds or dogs or cats. He's like, whatever, just give me one big enough to ride. And I'm just like, Himbo Hemsworth is a great Thor when that pops up in this movie.
That's a very relatable character for me.
He has an arc, and it's sweet. He has a real character arc in this film.
I
also,
mean,
the Destroyer looks so cool.
Plus, like the never-ending love I have for the dialogue in this film. It does feel to the same poetic, just pageantry that you get from the original Thor comics. Because like Thor, like when you read Thor in the comic books, it even has like this a different font from everyone else, because it's meant to be like, I am a Norse god and I talk like this. Like, and you really do get that. So I think this is just tacking on to your original point, Garrett, around, hey, if we're gonna bring this new side of the MCU of just gods can't exist and they are going to have awesome powers that we don't understand, I think this film, while not being the same lightness that we have in future films, a great first step. And remember, in my world, we call magic and magic and science are the same thing.
Nerd.
And it wouldn't be a proper Thor film without some heavy-handed exposition narrated by Anthony Hopkins in the beginning of the film. I'm going to be taking it very easy for the rest of this film. It won't be like any other performance you've seen from me before. I'm going to be half asleep.
Thor, son of Odin.
What about the second movie where he literally falls asleep for the whole movie?
I'm going to my trailer
Did Anthony
now.
pass out on set? Just film him anyway.
Odin's got to go to the long sleep now. But you know what, Anton, you brought up a really good point, too, of like some of the dialogue is the best. And I really think like Rana is able to take the story and screenplay and kind of bring that, Shakespearean, almost like classic like theater acting and like theater dialogue into this too. And you can really tell the actors resonate with it too. Natalie Portman is on record saying she wanted to do this because of who was directing it, and voiced her frustration of her involvement with the second movie too.
She wanted to do this because of the paycheck.
Yeah, she wanted to do it.
Which is fine. Which is good.
Totally fine. Yeah.
Hey, it's great when you get a paycheck and you like what you're doing.
Yeah.
What was it?
That's society, baby.
Anthony Hopkins, we don't have on paper how much he made for the film, but I'm sure he got paid pretty good amount.
I would guess his asking price was like minimum $5 million.
You think he got back end?
No, I don't think they would have given him back end. They probably would have given him his fee.
He did keep coming back for future movies, so maybe there was something built in for a longer contract.
Maybe. You know who the real MVP of this movie is for me? Skarsgård.
Kat Dennings. Yeah, that Skarsgård's really cool too.
Yes, I know your love for Kat Dennings.
Two
she was
Girls,
in it.
Great series.
Yeah, she was in it. I think it was nice of them to include her.
How much, if you had to guess, did Chris Hemsworth make for Thor 1? I'm not sure if you covered that in your original
first
episode.
one?
Yes.
$7.5 million.
I think less. He was a
$7.5
nobody.
for a man whose
Wait,
biggest...
I was right?
No.
Oh,
$7.5 million for a man whose biggest role was
I'm gonna say $1 million maybe. He was a
that's
nobody.
fair, because it's like his
Less $150,000.
Wow.
Wow.
$150,000.
Yeah, he was a nobody. Nobody knew him.
He made $15 million for Avengers Endgame, so I think it worked. I think it worked out.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing I want to say though, because we have not talked about them. The Warriors 3. Most forgotten about, like, side characters in
They were
all of Marvel.
so badass in the comics. Volstagg, the homie.
Yeah, name them all. Name them all. You got Volstagg.
So we got Volstagg. We have what's his name? Oliver North. No, wait.
Fandral. What? It's Fandral. Hogan,
Fandral.
Sif.
Yeah, Hogan. Wait, Sif is not the Warriors 3.
Sorry, Sif in the Warriors 3. If we want to be correct about it.
Titus Pullo.
Listeners are like, Oliver North, wasn't he in the 90s?
Didn't he sell weapons to Iran?
Anyway, the post-credit scene of Thor also rules when Loki's controlling him. God, that's awesome and gets me so jacked up for the next one. I need to rewatch Thor. It's time. I want to watch it again.
It's
fun. It's a fun movie.
It's a Thanksgiving film. I think it came out around Thanksgiving.
It's a Thanksgiving film? What makes it a Thanksgiving film?
They celebrate Thanksgiving.
They're celebrating. Yeah.
It came out in May.
Oh,
So,
my memory is a bit shoddy when it comes to.
I mean,
You're
it's
like,
like
you know,
halfway to Thanksgiving, so you're not half wrong.
You know what? You want to know what's
just
really funny?
completely wrong.
I'm completely remembering now why I thought that there was a Thanksgiving connection is
The
because
second one came out in November.
No, there's a South Park episode where they literally take the plot from Thor, but it's Thanksgiving themed.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's a fair.
But Anton, can I help you out?
Sure.
Thor: The Dark World came out around Thanksgiving.
Okay, I'm taking it back. That was why I thought.
That's why. That's a good reason. All right,
Dang
top
it, your
three.
arms are looking jack, Garrett.
Oh, thanks, ladies.
Top three. Let's get into
All right.
it. Garrett, you have an unconventional pick, I think.
Yes, I'm gonna hit you guys with what I perceive to be a swerve and give you Iron Man 1.
Definitely a swerve. Anton, what's your number three?
Captain America.
The first Avenger. That is my number three as well, which we have to technically move into number twos now because we haven't gotten a unanimous pick.
Ooh, this could be a really interesting one.
I will give you my number two first.
Okay.
My number two is Iron Man 1, which I guess we can now not talk about it until Anton mentions it.
My number two is the Avengers.
My number two, by literally the slimmest of margins, and I'm talking, I wrestled with this up until before we started recording this, is Captain America, the First Avenger. But it's a real coin flip for me.
Well, I guess we can talk about Captain America, the First Avenger then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Iron Man. Well, no, we can't talk about
No, we
Iron Man,
can't.
right? It's
Can't
Captain
talk
America
about Iron
time.
Man yet.
Nope.
No, we can only talk about Captain America, the First Avenger. I didn't really like it when I first saw it. I thought it was okay.
It is truly, in my opinion, the movie that gets better with every rewatch. And I truly think it is some of the best character work in the MCU itself. And also, biasly, I am such a sucker for any revisionist history movie, especially when it includes Nazis.
Tucci.
Oh my God, the Tooch? Love the Tooch.
Anything with Stanley Tucci in it deserves to be talked about.
Should we just talk about Stanley Tucci instead?
Pelican
No
Brief?
more Marvel movies?
We
Easy
could.
A?
We could. I mean,
Oh, he's so great in Easy A. He's like a very lovable dad.
We talk about, me and my wife talk about, that's who we want to be as parents. Him and Patricia Clarkson.
His scene where he's just like, wait, you're adopted?
That man is so funny. But I could wax poetic about this movie, but I kind of want to hear the naysayers first because I'm ready to kind of fight. Like Captain America fighting Nazis.
you're not going to have much naysaying here. I mean, I gave it a B+. I really like this movie.
I gave it a
I
B.
think you're right. The more I see it, the more I like it.
I really like this
great.
film. Yeah, so I just want to say here, we're at the top three, right? And this is the phase one of MCU. I think at this point, it's literally like by a nose hair even, of like where each of these films start to rank in the top three, which I think is pretty fun for each of us having. It sounds like every position is a bit different. But just to talk about Captain America a little bit and why it lands there for me. This is starting to break out of like your typical Marvel template. And this is also a very big movie for Marvel, right? Like as much as Iron Man is a huge movie, Thor's a big name, but Captain America, like that is your face of the franchise. So you have to get it right. And I found it very enjoyable. And like you said, Garrett, with each rewatch, you appreciate it.
Pat, I really want to know what could have made this movie like more than a B+ for you. Like, where does it fall a little short? Not to relitigate the episode or have you repeat everything you said, but like, what is kind of like the glaring, almost like, it doesn't make it over that hump.
No
for
proper
me,
battle with the Red Skull,
which I also agree with.
That's a kind of a good answer. That's kind of the same answer I would give. I mean, Red Skull I guess if you want to say he's a villain who's played by Hugo Weaving, he's pretty one-dimensional. He's not that interesting. He's clearly a one-film villain. We never really see him again until Endgame, and it's not even Hugo Weaving. It's some Hugo Weaving impersonator that they hired. It's
not even Red Skull at that point.
Right. It's something else.
Red Wraith.
Gross.
It's like, what could have made this film better? That's a really good question, Garrett. I think it was as good as it could have been for what it was doing. Again, it's a setup film.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot because it kind of functions also. If you want to watch it as a World War II movie, you can do it just for that. And you don't have to watch it as a Marvel movie. Like, my dad really likes the first Captain America movie. He doesn't like any of the Marvel
Dads
movies.
love anything with World War II. That is a stereotype, I'm okay to say.
Yeah,
right.
Which is a shouts out to the World War II Museum in New Orleans. Love that museum if anyone hasn't gone yet.
Hey, shouts out to the veterans, too.
Hey, we love our veterans.
Love our veterans. Great shout out, Anton. That's a great museum in New Orleans. I don't know how to answer your question, Garrett. Like, what could have made this better? I don't know. I mean, I think the action in it is like fine. It's acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what could have made it better. And this is maybe a little bit unfair to this film. The second Captain America and the third Captain America are so effing great. This film is not quite on the level of those two. So there's my answer for you. It's like, it's not as good as the second and third one. Winter Soldier is so good.
It's, that's a really good call out, Pat. I think like as a complete film, it ends on a cliffhanger and it doesn't have, it really is built to set up the Avengers. And I think like as a setup film, it's fantastic. You get Cap's origin, you know who he is through and through. All of the visual callbacks in later Avengers films really do come back to this film. You get Haley Atwell, who has legendary acting prowess. You didn't think I was going to say that.
Marvel's GOAT. Marvel's GOAT.
Yeah. And I think that in a sense, if you look at Phase One as like we're getting origin films throughout, I don't think that origin films in themselves are necessarily the most interesting films, but there is like an exception to that. And that is when you get a film that breaks the mold. And I feel like for me, that's where Iron Man sits versus this film. While I do have a new definition to me of like who is Captain America in the context of the MCU, I still feel it fitting an origin template, but a very, very entertaining film. One that also learned from anything that they applied to Thor. I think you get the humor, you get the action, and you also get a bit of, a lot of setup, which again, this film is a lot of setup. I don't know. I think lack of a concrete villain arc or proper, fight with the villain, that's a bit more disappointing.
I think that's fair. Pat, actually, I think you answered my question perfectly when you said this movie was the best version of what it could be. And Anton, you kind of built upon that point too. This movie really has to do a lot, not only calling back the movies that came before it, but also kind of setting up the movies after it as well. And also kind of being a movie throughout time in and of itself. Like, the movie starts in the 1940s, ends in present day. Also, you have callbacks to, let's say, movies like Thor with Johann Schmidt admiring the Tesseract itself, like clearly an allusion to Thor right there. You have S.H.I.E.L.D., or the origins of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Howard Stark present in the movie, so you're already calling back Iron Man 2, setting up the Avengers itself. You also have to get scrawny Steve Rogers jacked up to be a super soldier. You have to actually let him fight, start letting him complete his missions, and then literally save the world and win World War II. Oh, and also he needs to be frozen in ice and recruited for the Avengers. I'm missing a billion other plot points in there, but that's a lot for a 2-hour film to kind of coast through. And one thing I think this movie does really well is its use of montage and kind of old-timey-wimey, if you want to call it. Let's just say putting itself on display, like having it be so serialized, feeling like almost 1940s, like World War II American propaganda. Joe Johnston is a master of special effects too. Like, we can criticize how he directs, but he can make a movie look good. And this movie definitely feels like you're in the world of 1940s Marvel over there.
I love how this movie looks.
Yes, it's just so much fun. The colors pop, and like Captain America too. He is just very, stoic and almost just like a man at a time, and very boring yet practical. But his personality pops. You know why he is, and you know why he wants to do the things he does. And honestly, people kind of criticize, the old school looking suits and things like that. I love like his like World War II level fatigues over here. The scenes where he's busting out the camps and when they rescue Bucky, like that scene, and when they just burst through the doors back at the camp and everyone starts cheering, like I'm on my feet every time, and I'm just like, that is a good man with a good heart, as our boy Abraham Erskine says.
Yeah.
Dr.
I love it.
Foreskin?
Yes, Abraham Forskine.
You say when he was busting in the camps?
Yeah, when he was busting in the camps. Because, that super soldier serum.
The star of the show, Chris Evans, underrated.
That's a good-looking man.
It's an underrated performance for him because on paper, it's such a one-dimensional character. This patriotic Boy Scout type. He puts so much heart into the performance. He sells the innocence of the character without being corny. And you totally buy the earnestness. And if his performance doesn't work, this film does not work at all. And, think about it. I mean, you're Anton, you said it earlier, like they had to get this character right. And they did. They picked the right actor. I mean, he's one of those guys, we're going to talk about Downey a little bit later in this episode, but recasting Captain America would be really tough.
You have to hit his acting ability versus Robert Downey, right? In the rest of the Avengers films. And, shouts out, Mr. Evans, you did a great job. And this film, it makes you want to root for him. And I think that quality is so essential to watching his character in every other film, is because once you've bought into him as a character and you're rooting for him in his arc, then that adds just another layer for you to balance with each character that's presented then in every other Avengers film.
He has such a good aw shucks
yeah.
aspect to every line he says. Just what's the line he says about bullies? Essentially, he's like, I don't want to kill anyone.
I just don't like bullies.
I don't care where they're from. Like, it's delivered just so plainly, but so like human. And I think that's what makes it so good. Like, you see the human in the super soldier here. And one thing I do want to say, I truly think that this movie has the best closing line in the entire MCU. After Steve Rogers wakes up, runs out into the streets of Manhattan, how they shut down Times Square to film that, still beyond me in 2011. When Nick Fury goes, "You gonna be okay?" And he just goes, "Yeah, I had a date." Directed by Joe Johnston. I cry every time. I literally watched this again with my wife like a couple months ago. Just burst into tears on the couch, and she's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "He had a date."
Cap, ever the romantic.
Starting in this film, he has the best arc, I think. Him and Tony have the best arcs of any of the characters. One of the best in-theater experiences of my entire life is I was in a packed theater in Jersey City watching Infinity War, and it's the scene at the train station. I think they're in like Edinburgh or whatever, and what's his name? Vision and Wanda are getting their ass kicked by
Corvus Glaive, about to chuck that spear.
Sure, I was going to say like the Goon Squad. Like what's his name?
The Goon Squad.
I don't know the characters' names.
Right.
Proxima Midnight actually is the one who throws her little trident thing.
And then she's about to like kill Vision, and then she pauses and like looks over, and the whole audience knows it's the Captain before you see him step out of the shadows. The whole theater explodes. Everyone starts cheering, and a bunch of people in the movie theater were yelling Captain. And it was just so satisfying. And it all starts in this film. And that's really the triumph of the MCU as this movie series, because all the there's no real reason why this all should have worked the way it did. And that we know now they didn't plan everything to a T. They didn't, they couldn't have. But they got all these foundational pieces in Phase One right. And that's why you were able to get Avengers Endgame being the highest grossing film of all time. Avatar's re-release in China notwithstanding. I don't count that shit. But it all starts here with these types of films, and they took their time and they had their patience and they hired the right people and they cast the right actors, and that's why the Infinity Saga in particular became what it became, because they got the foundational stuff right. And Captain America: The First Avenger is maybe the best example of it, except for one film that we haven't talked about yet.
They get everything about the character right here too. And you talked about it, but like Captain America really does have the best arc in his own trilogy too. And like I said, he's got just the greatest closing lines too. We talked about Civil War, obviously, a few weeks ago, the three of us too. But the closing line that he has in that movie, I think, is like such a perfect callback to Captain America 1, where he calls Tony on the phone and says, I wish we agreed on the accords. I really do. I know you're doing what you believe in, and that's all any of us can do. That's all any of us should. And I'm like, yes, that is Captain America right there. And you really kind of see it just like perfectly encapsulated within this movie itself. Like, you know who his character is right from the jump. And I think that's what Marvel got so right about Chris Evans as Captain America. You never question who he is, his motivations, his actions, even really throughout any of his appearances of this movie.
Yeah. Well, where next then do we go in the conversation?
Do we go to our number ones?
Well,
technically,
we are. Did we get into the twos?
Yeah, my two is Captain America.
Okay,
my two was Avengers.
My two is Iron Man.
So we got to go ones.
We gotta go ones. Shit!
My one is Iron Man.
Should we repeat like the order for everyone? I'm just kidding. Everyone knows the order.
If anyone's still paying attention.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first for their one then?
Anton did.
Iron Man. I feel like this film to me is just
we have to talk about Iron Man now because Garrett, you had a third.
I had a third.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk Iron Man then.
Yeah. Iron Man to me is exactly what I want from a film when I'm already familiar with the franchise. Growing up, I loved Iron Man comics, comic books in general. And what the film does is take, again, this well-established storyline, but then not only put it on screen, but also transform it a bit. You get that with also one of the greatest actors of all time in Robert Downey Jr., which completely redefines who Tony Stark is. They literally started rewriting his character in the comic to be more like Robert Downey Jr. And I feel like, to me, with that, along with how his arc goes throughout the film, how you really see him change, the effects at the time also just, again, astounding me for the time period. And getting a superhero film not like any before it. I feel like this was so different from watching, much love and respect to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Blade, Daredevil, or not as much love to Daredevil, but once you get to this film, you get a very different film. And I feel like within itself, like if I just watched Iron Man, they never made the MCU, I see that as a very complete film of, one man's rise, self-reflection, and accepting his faults, and also wanting to move on from whatever legacy that was built off of the arms dealing from his family business. So I think that in itself, it's just a fantastic film. And for me, like, beyond just being an MCU film, it's a great film. So I don't think it needed anything before it to also be a great film. It just did an awesome job.
They had to get so many things right with this film, and they did. And it's so interesting to rewatch it now. Obviously, the gamble that they did, I was about to say Disney, but of course this is before Disney.
Nope.
The gamble that Marvel took with Robert Downey Jr. paid off in spades. This is one of the most satisfying movies I've ever seen in the theaters, because I didn't have expectations for this film. I knew what Iron Man was. I, of course, was very familiar with Robert Downey Jr. He was a little bit in the wilderness before this film. His comeback had already started a little bit, but we didn't really know it at the time. I didn't know what the MCU was. Did anybody actually know what the MCU was in 2008, or did they establish that later? Like, we're creating this cinematic universe. I think that came a little bit later.
It was teased, obviously, with Nick Fury at the end, but definitely announced with the arrival of
But when
Hulk
this movie came out, correct me if I'm wrong, they weren't promoting we're doing a cinematic universe. They were just like, we're making Iron Man. There's more movies coming with Marvel.
We have rights to all these films, and we hope they can play together.
One of the most underrated parts about this movie, Anton, and by the way, Anton, if I were to review this with you on an episode now, this would be getting an A. Like, this is a fantastic movie. This managed to stand alone coming out the same summer as The Dark Knight. It very easily could have been overshadowed by that film, and it wasn't. It stood on its own because of, primarily, I think, the performance from Downey, but because of how this movie was directed. The tone of this movie is so brilliant, and you have to give Favreau a lot of credit for this. It's a serious movie, but it's lighthearted at the same time. They're touching on some very serious things on here, but it's a very humorous movie. I'm not saying it's the same thing as the first James Bond movie, because I think they're very different franchises, very different movies. But I see a lot of similarities with Iron Man that I do with Dr. No, which is they made this movie they didn't have an ulterior motive. They were just trying to make the best movie that they could in the moment. They had to get so many things right, and they did. Like, if you go back and watch Dr. No now, you're like, wow, I can't believe they got all these things right that set up the foundation for the entire James Bond franchise going forward. And you watch Iron Man now, and one of the many reasons why this movie is so fantastically rewatchable, you're like, holy crap, I can't believe they got all these things right that set up the foundation for the entire MCU, which is now what, like 40, 50 movies?
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's an incredible piece of filmmaking, and it's a triumph. It's a true and tried classic. I think I'm going to give you both a really hot take.
Mm-hmm.
I like watching this movie more than The Dark Knight.
I think that's a really fair take.
I think it's a fair take. I think it's... I mean, I've never thought about hitting them up against each other. I'm going to have to rewatch both before I come to
They're not competitors.
Yeah.
Right, I think a lot of people would give me crap for it, but just, man, this movie is so much fun.
And I think you said it best with the Dr. No comparison. Dr. No came at a time before there was the James Bond template, right? You get a bunch of films afterwards where people are like, well, a Bond film has to have. And
yes.
You get same thing with the MCU. An MCU film has to have. This was before that. This was before the Avengers. This was before Thor even had a chance at a template. This was before Incredible Hulk thought they knew what a superhero film should be. And at the same time, like, I don't think it set out to like try to redefine superhero films. And even then, beat by beat, it follows a well-established story, but it just does it so well. Jon Favreau was cooking with Iron Man.
There was really, in my opinion, like two almost like schools of thought for like comic book movies before this. Either they have to be so grounded in real, like it feels like it could take place in the city that you live in.
Ghost Rider.
Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four. Exactly. Punisher Warzone. But what I mean by that, it's like it almost has to feel like it literally can exist in today's world. Like, say what you will about like the fantastic elements of like even Dark Knight, Batman Begins and whatnot, but okay, I could see that happening literally in the worlds I live in. Whereas when you would get to almost try to be lifted from a comic book movies, a la your Ghost Rider or your Daredevil, they would try to make them fun and real, but you're like, this is just like, you're almost like doing page for page from the comic book itself and not giving me anything where I, as the viewer, can relate to. Cough, cough, Zack Snyder, Watchmen, cough, cough. Anyway, the point that I want to say with Iron Man is that this feels real. These characters feel like they live in a universe that we can all recognize. We can feel, you know, pathos like for who they are, the journeys that they go through, like everything about it just feels like so part of the world itself. And what I mean by that is Marvel and DC, like even as comic books themselves, were always kind of yin and yang. And what I mean by that is like DC was always in Elseworld. It didn't take place on kind of the earth as we know. Cities were not the same names. Whereas Marvel was always meant to be heroes living side by side with us in New York City, in California, where have you. And this was the first time where I felt like one of these movies, especially with the Marvel character, I'm like, yeah, I could see Tony Stark living in Los Angeles and existing as Iron Man in the world that I live in. Like, they made these movies feel real in such a way where it didn't have to be that overly serious tone. Like, it actually felt real. Like, I'm sorry. What I mean by that is watch Daredevil again. Just watch Daredevil. Could you see could you see Bullseye walking around with a literal bullseye scar carved into his head around New York City, just flinging paper clips at you? No. So
New York City, someone flinging paper clips at me.
Actually, that happened to me literally today. One time. Some guy literally like threw, I can't remember what it was.
On the train? Yeah, I could see it.
He threw it at my boss at the time in my internship and just went bullseye at him, and I will never forget that. I forget what it was. Gosh. It was like a wadded up paper towel. That guy sucked. I hope he's not doing well right now. Anyway. The point is, honestly, this is the first time a movie felt real where it didn't have to be overly serious or grounded in such a way. Kind of like X-Men was a template for, even with Dark Knight 2. So this was the first time we're like, hey, superhero movies can be real and fun too. I know it's my number 3, but like I said, my 1, 2, and 3 here, it's really just like a photo finish.
They're so close, which is why like I think it's fun to have this conversation.
You gonna put that on MySpace or something? Still my favorite quote.
Put it on MySpace.
Please no gang signs.
Top 8.
Please no gang signs. Yeah, you guys would be in my top 8.
Tila Tequila was my top 8.
Is it true that you were 12 for 12 with last year's Maxim cover models? This movie is just such a product of its time, though, in pieces, but it is still endlessly rewatchable.
He had a post-sex scene.
Yeah, we get that great Gwyneth Paltrow line about, like, Mr. Stark pays me to do everything, including occasionally taking the trash out.
Gwyneth, she's on one. This is the coolest Gwyneth.
Shout out to Gwyneth, because her and Downey in these movies, they're fantastic.
It's again, were they trying to become like Marvel's first couple? No. But hey, like, you can't think of the Marvel films without Pepper and Tony. So.
That's why I love this first movie so much. It's like what we were just talking about. Like, they weren't trying to check a bunch of boxes to make an MCU movie. They were just like, okay, we have a good script. We believe in our lead actor. We're trying to establish this eventual thing that we hope will become a cinematic universe. Let's just try to make this movie work. And they did.
They tease things in the future with like this earnestness and excitement that just didn't exist yet for superhero films, whether it's teasing the Avengers, whether it's Terrence Howard teasing War Machine in the future.
It's time, baby.
Yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. And it was not built off of any template before it.
One of my favorite little facts from this, it's Coulson was a random side character that was created specifically for this movie and gets canonized as basically the number 2 in command of S.H.I.E.L.D. from then on, which I love what's the term? Genericization, when basically a person becomes synonymous with the product itself. Obviously, I am Iron Man, but truly, Robert Downey Jr. becomes that genericization of Iron Man from this too.
Yeah, and also that was another drop that was exciting. You get S.H.I.E.L.D. for the first time, but again, in a way that I don't think anyone was expecting. The nerd in me was punching air.
Oh, can I one-up you on like nerddom? There's a scene where Tony Stark, when he's taking his first test flight through LA, for some reason, he flies by a poster with Fing Fang Foom on it, who I was obsessed with.
That's weird.
And the cartoon shows. And I'm like, why is Fing Fang Foom on a movie poster? Is Fing Fang Foom an actor in this universe?
Right. Like, I forget the context of Fing Fang Foom in there, but I'm like, why would that be there? Unless it's just literally an Easter egg. And like it could be a band for all we know.
I was like, "Where's my dragons?" And then we got one in Shang-Chi, kinda, but we don't have to go down.
That's a film of two halves.
They did have me in the first.
I look forward to reviewing it eventually.
I think you give me the first part of the film and then the last third, and I actually really, really love it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that too. The one thing too I love about this movie is also the 10 rings too. As a kid, loved the 10 rings. I was like, oh, are we getting like the Mandarin and the actual 10 rings in it? I was like, wow, that is crazy. Obviously, the movie did not go that way, and obviously it gets retconned a little bit too. It is kind of crazy to think how much Shang-Chi kind of, for lack of better words, like retcons or addresses Iron Man 1.
Stuff. But like, I think in a fun way, because when you really think about it, like the 10 rings with the concept from the comics, it's just too close to the Infinity Gauntlet. And so you can't really repurpose that for the films. Some sort of ambiguous infinity bands that have some sort of sustainable power that's infinite. That's cool.
10 rings are actually referenced now. I think about it. You get Iron Man 1, Iron Man 3, and Shang-Chi. So they're like, we'll figure out what to do with it. But it's kind of fun to make this like a MacGuffin of sorts of bad guys.
Yeah. Ben Kingsley will bring everything full circle.
Here's a question for you. Does this movie have the best cool guys don't look at explosions scene where Tony blows up the tank and just walks away?
Easily.
Stone cold.
Yeah.
Where he just...
Yeah, the Jericho missiles. That's another cool... Yeah, there's two guys.
Well, because he does
two cool guys
he's in the suit, and he fires like the little projectile
the wrist
into
rocket.
the wrist rocket into the tank, and then he just turns around.
Hardcore.
Yeah, pretty sick. Pretty sick.
Pretty sick.
Yeah.
Cool guys don't look at explosions.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
We're down to the last one, right?
We're down to one. You know Anton's one.
Yeah. You already know my one.
So Anton's number one is Iron Man. My number one is the Avengers.
Same here, man. Same here.
All right.
We can talk about the Avengers now. I mean, this was it. It was the coming together moment. This was the real test. Everything that Kevin Feige and the rest of the filmmakers had been building towards. It was the proof of concept. To say that there was a lot riding on this would be an understatement, I would imagine, for you comic book guys. The hype for this was probably greater than all the other MCU Phase One movies put together. This is one of the most satisfying movies I've ever seen in a movie theater. I had seen all the other Phase One movies up until this point. I was hyped for this as a pretty casual fan. I had liked everything I had seen minus The Incredible Hulk. I've seen this movie a lot. This is one of my go-to hangover movies. If I don't know what to put on, not that I get hungover anymore as a near 40-year-old with an infant at home or a baby at home. She's not an infant anymore. But if I don't know what to put on, The Avengers is a great movie to put on. Anton, you know, we talk about hype to results ratios. This matched it perfectly. This movie was so hyped. It delivered for somebody like me on every front possible. Everything about this movie works. The action is kick-ass. The character arcs, I think, are great. The humor, laugh out loud funny in certain places. All of the characters that they bring in, like, oh, well, we have a new Hulk. That's kind of a challenge for this ensemble thing. We're going to bring him in. He's played by Mark Ruffalo now. Don't worry about the Edward Norton misfire. It all worked. It all worked. This was a triumph for me.
I don't disagree with you. I think this is an amazing film. I think that if there's ever been anything earned in film history, it's Avengers Assemble in this film. And that's not easy. You only get a certain amount of screen time right in any film. And when you cut it up, how much are you going to dedicate to each individual character that also has their own film while still being able to keep the audience interested in all of these broken out other plot lines that may or may not connect each of the characters. So I feel like just mathematically, they did a great job being able to have you feel invested with each character, the individual plot lines, and how they all interconnect. Now, that is to say, my really very slight gripes with the film, just it's tough. Like, what is it? It's very, very minimal. I feel like, if anything, I just think about the future Avengers films that I love even more. And I just have so much love for this film, but as well as like Infinity War and Endgame, which to me also change up what an Avengers film could be. Which isn't fair. Like, this film in itself is still very, very good.
You're on mute, Garrett.
I'll learn how to use my computer one day in my life. But yeah, Pat, you kind of alluded to this. Like, this was really kind of like the culmination of like, can we make this like team up movie work? Because up to this point, besides maybe a Fantastic Four movie, like, what superhero team up movies have we really kind of had in that sense? And that's not even a good example here. So we talk about like Marvel.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Because I think I'm about to make your point even better for you.
Please.
The previous attempt that we had gotten at something like this was X-Men The Last Stand, and it was terrible.
So that's a good point too. See, like, I didn't even think about X-Men The Last Stand because that literally does not exist in my memory bank. And
nor should
now
it.
I'm upset. Now I'm upset. You made me think about Brett Ratner, and I was having a nice day, so thank you. Like, why would you do that to me?
Keep going, please.
Anyway, we talk about like Marvel doing a really great job of actually lifting the comic off of the page and putting it on screen, and not just shot for shot in that sense. There's no greater moment than the splash page moments that happen in the Battle of New York 2. When the camera is just doing the long continuous take, just showing all of the different characters fighting, working with each other, and just going to town on the Chitauri 2. Truly feels like that page in the middle of the comic book when you open it, and it's just one giant picture, and there's so much for your eyes to latch onto. And I think that truly became a staple of really the Avengers movies. Like, you can kind of pinpoint in Age of Ultron, Infinity War, Endgame, like that one splash page moment. But there's no greater moment than in this film where it just starts doing that continuous take too. The 360 coverage shot as well. It's like you can literally like see the pages of the comic book like so in real time too. And it's also fun because, in my opinion, there's nothing more that audiences want to see. We talked about this during Civil War, of seeing heroes fighting each other. That scene where Cap and Iron Man and Thor are all fighting each other truly felt like it's like, okay, they figured it out. Like, they know what they're doing here right now. It's just such a fun moment to see. It's truly a culmination, and really what makes this movie so good, and I think is now almost a criticism you can levy against Marvel movies, was, do I need to watch anything before this to understand what's going on? And while the answer is, of course, it makes the Avengers better, you can go into this movie cold, not have seen the movie, understand every character, all the way from Bruce Banner to Black Widow, hell, to Agent Coulson too. So that's what the movie does so well. It doesn't feel like any moment between the characters, even with the dialogue, is wasted.
You have to give a lot of credit to Joss Whedon for making this work. And I know that, he's probably never going to return to the MCU for a variety of reasons. But they owe a lot to him, because if this film had failed, we wouldn't have what we currently have with the MCU. Maybe it would still be around, but it would be a different version of itself. He understood that the reason why this ensemble piece would work because of the characters. And if the audience didn't care about the characters, and that's why someone like, me, you guys were very familiar with the comics. I didn't know anything about the comics. I didn't, for lack of a better term, care about the comics, but I cared about the characters that had been established in the previous movies that built up to this. And by the time this movie came around, I was fully invested, and I finally understood what my comic book nerd friends had been telling me about. Like in some of the hero shots, I was wowed by them. I'm like, oh, the scene in the streets when they're in the battle at the end and Captain America is directing everybody. He's like the field commander. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I get it. I understand what they're telling me about now. This is amazing. But the best parts of this film are the character moments. When you get like Tony and Banner in the lab together and it's just them and they're talking about science stuff. And it's Natasha trying to recruit Banner. And it's like these little character moments. It's always like the one-on-one stuff, the small scenes. It's you get the first conflict between Tony and Steve when they start to disagree. And it sets up future movies. You don't know it at the time. But you can credit all of that to Joss Whedon, because he knew that those are the moments and the scenes that were going to make this film work. The action is the action. And the action in this film, I think, is great. But it's the writing and, frankly, the performances. This has very underrated acting in it. I mean, you had Ruffalo come in, and he had to sell the pain and the kind of misery of this character that he had to portray, and he does it in 30 seconds. And give credit to the cast. There were so many ways that this movie could have gone wrong, and it didn't. And it did the opposite thing, and it went right in pretty much every single way. I have like nothing to criticize about this film. This is such an A+ film for me. Infinitely rewatchable, like I said. And it's why it's my number one ranked Phase One film.
I know. Like, I think the points that maybe I can nitpick, some of the dialogue scenes, especially non-action scenes, look like they were shot for television, which fair play to Joss Whedon coming from TV. But those are things you're willing to overlook because those character moments, the dialogue is just so well done. You understand every character's motivations. Every character gets a chance to shine. If you told me that the emotional crux of the Avengers, maybe 5 years before coming out, would be Agent Phil Coulson getting skewered by Loki, and that's what brings everybody together, I'd be like, that is the dumbest plot point I have ever heard in my entire life. But they make it work so well, and you truly are just as like upset and like ready to go as the Avengers are too. And every little character has a moment to shine. You understand who the characters are. Like I said, you have to introduce Hawkeye, another version of Hulk. Who else? Kobe Smulders is Maria Hill. Truly let Sam Jackson be Sam Jackson in this movie.
Sam Jackson has a bigger role here, a very
yes,
important
he
role
does.
here.
This is the last time I think between us, Fury really did something.
This was Fury's shining moment.
Other than calling Carol Danvers at the end of Infinity War, yes.
Yeah, because what he was doing in the Marvels, I have no idea.
Not
Fun
much.
movie. Couldn't tell you what he was doing in that movie at all, though. But
you didn't know?
No, I had no idea.
Oh, they told him to pick up his paycheck, so he showed up for that.
Oh, right. But honestly, nothing will ever make me more jacked up as I was in the theaters when that's my secret cap. I'm always angry and just slow-mo,
That's my favorite moment in the film.
Breaking the nose of the Leviathan. I'm like, I'm ready to go. Everyone just roaring to the 360 whip shot.
So great.
It's just such a great 1, 2, 3.
It's little moments like that become big moments. Also,
it's little moments.
Yeah. It's also, I think, things like that, the little details, whether it's Tony's calling out the random S.H.I.E.L.D. agent for playing Space Invaders being complete foreshadowing for the film.
It's Galaga. Get it right,
right.
please.
Right, Galaga. Whether it's whether it's Thanos still feeling like the overarching threat, despite the fact that we have a huge alien battle going on in this film. I think that's so well done and quite frankly hasn't been replicated.
It was just so novel of the time. It's like you can't even match that like anticipation, excitement. Like what is going to be the next quote unquote Avengers of like, we truly haven't seen this before. Has it happened? I don't know.
Like, are we with everything that was set up with Phase One? And I think like maybe this is where I feel like you have to look at current events. This was phase one in setting up the universe. Everything since then, we live in a post Endgame world. Everything coming up to Doomsday, it just feels like grasping at straws to reclaim the beauty that was these original films, but we really just are getting distilled versions of the quality that we got from these films.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's fair to not expect them to like match the highs, but it's like you kind of got away from the templates that work, the small character moments, you know, the small individual stories that culminate in these larger than life films. It's personally speaking, I like when a movie sets up threads. Like, hey, you can let them like go for a little bit. You don't have to address them in the next movie, but like to go back to Brave New World, not to relitigate it, did I need a closure to Incredible Hulk? No. Would I have liked to see like a true like Sam Wilson as a Black Captain America story in today's world? Yeah, that would have been awesome. So it's the battling of the stakes. This is, to your point, Anton, a movie that set up the stakes for many movies so that when it happens, it feels real and earned. And it helps that we have those little moments so we can actually glom onto these characters too, understand their motivations, why they do what they do, and who they do it for. Where it's kind of hard to capture that lightning in a bottle, really.
And I think one of the biggest things that time will only tell if it works or not is just all of these characters that we have in phase one, they are also given the respect of having a character defining actor. And that's huge, right? For Thanos, they figured out later that they wanted to go with Josh Brolin. But for the most part here, it's like, hey, let's make sure that we're taking the time to introduce these characters also with an actor that audiences can fall in love with, and will redefine who these characters are for a generation. Now that have our big bad for the Avengers level film with Doomsday, we have Robert Downey Jr. back. And it's been very, very, I don't know, it just feels so conflicted of a character like Doctor Doom, literally one of the greatest villains of all time. Sorry, I'm putting my big fat nerd glasses on. I'm just not sold that they should have, that giving that role to Robert Downey Jr. is good for Doctor Doom's longevity.
Well, they haven't earned it as far as I can tell. Garrett, you said that word earlier. The key word here is earned. This first Avengers movie was earned. Captain America Civil War, that moment, it's a very big moment in the MCU. It felt earned. Infinity War and Endgame were earned. It's like, did I like all of the movies that led up to Infinity War? No, not equally. But Infinity War and Endgame were earned. The new version that we're going to get next year, I don't know. I don't think it is.
That's the thing, too. It's casting not Robert Downey Jr. as Doom that's not even my issue. It's just more, Doom's the villain. You like that, audiences? We're giving you what you want, too. It's like, who's it for? Like, my mom does not care that Dr. Doom's the villain. She likes Dr. Doom, and I'm not trying to say like my mom is the target audience like for these films, even though she does like them. But she wanted to see the Avengers because she's like, oh, I like these characters. Oh, the villain's that guy from Thor. He's good. Like, I know who these characters are in this movie, not so much the characters from the comic books that are now going to be in a movie. As far as I'm concerned, I'm about as excited for Doom as the villain of Doomsday as I was for Doom as the villain in Fantastic Four from 2005, which is not a lot. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I love this stuff. Let me be wrong.
I want to be wrong too, man.
I want to be wrong more.
But the more that as we go through phase one, it's clear there's just a huge appreciation for all these films and what they set up. And it's why I love each of these episodes where we covered these films. So, audience, please tune into each of these episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you have your podcast listening. But man, what a trip going through these films again.
It's a trip down memory lane.
It was. Seems like a good place to end it, Anton, since you just plugged.
That was a great segue.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to segue towards the end.
No,
it just
I think we're at the end. We've talked about all the films. I don't know what else we could add at this point. This was a fun discussion, Garrett.
I want to add one more thing. I'm with you guys to the end of the line. And that's where I think we are.
I agree.
This was a really fun discussion. I always enjoy having these discussions with you both.
This was a different one for us, Garrett.
It was. I enjoyed it. Look, I'm always happy to come on. Whatever you want me to talk about, I'm ready.
Well, we won't be seeing Garrett for a little bit just because he's priorities very important priorities, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Having a kid is important. I guess I should like be there to take care of them, but
I would
But,
recommend
they'll
it.
figure it out.
Yeah,
But from all of us,
we'll
from
figure
all
it
of us
out.
here at Why Wasn't It Better, wishing you and your wife and your growing family a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time
Thank
as you
both.
experience this growing family for the first time.
Yeah, well, not much else I can say other than I echo what Anton said. That's it for our ranking episode of the MCU Phase One. Merry Christmas, everyone who celebrates Christmas, and for those who don't, have a great day anyway. I think, this is going to release on Christmas, Anton.
Have a great day anyway.
Yeah, have a great day anyway.
There should be a card, like a Hallmark card. It's like, just have a great day anyway. Like, just for any occasion to send somebody. I love that.
I think they have that. It's like there's the generic blank card section.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
there is, yeah.
Well,
It's like, if you don't celebrate Christmas, there's no reason why you can't have a Merry Christmas.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Look, as a
I'm
Jewish
about that.
man, I love Christmas. Are
Right.
you kidding me? It's awesome.
Don't you go to Christmas parties, even though you're not celebrating Christmas?
Are you kidding me? I love it. Please give me all your peppermint flavored like gingerbread things.
Yeah.
Like I want all of it.
What's the problem? There isn't any.
Yeah, exactly.
as a non-Jewish person, I love babka. So
Exactly. Like invite me to your Christmas parties. I'll invite you to my Hanukkah parties.
and I'll bring
Everyone
you a
wins.
chocolate babka.
I went to a Passover celebration one time, and it was great, and I wish I could do it more, and no one's invited me since, so I don't know.
Hey, come over. I'll make you a brisket. Whatever you need, Bubba.
I'm down for that. I'll take you up on that offer. It's going to be a little bit tough for you, buddy, with the new kid coming, but anyway, that's probably
we'll
a
get
great
around
place
to
to
it.
end it.
It
As
is.
always, we thank everyone for listening. See you probably tomorrow as we release an episode then. That's it.